So, most of you guys know, Packers fan, Vikings fan, Bears fan,
Colts.
Lions fan for the day. Yes, Huddy is a Colts fan, but he's going to be a Lions fan today because we're actually going to do a draft segment for the NFC North. And I'll let Mike lead this topic, and he will talk about his thoughts for the Vikings portion of the draft. What do you got for me, Mike?
All right, the Vikings draft. It's going to be a doozy because they don't have a great pick, and it's in a position where it's going to be very hard if they want to try to trade that pick, which they don't really need to address a quarterback situation right now. They don't have to address a wide receiver situation, so they're good on those two things. And there's plenty of cornerbacks in the draft, so they don't have to worry about doing that. So they could theoretically trade, either switch positions with another team. I mean, ideally, I kind of wish they would maybe trade Kirk to the 49ers, grab the 49ers first round pick.
That's juicy.
But I don't know, too, because that means they're either going to have to draft a quarterback, which could be a total disaster, happens every year, or they go out and overpay someone, which they already sort of did with Kirk. So they could just find themselves in the same situation. So honestly, I hope whatever they use this draft pick on, I hope they don't do what they did last year and just grab a guy because he's the last person on the table.
Who did the Vikings draft in the first round?
They grabbed Lewis Seen from Georgia. He was their safety.
The safety.
Really great player in college, but then he didn't start, and then he got injured, like a really, really devastatingly gruesome injury.
Oof.
So he's questionable to even play again. He's making good progress, but it's not like it's like, a guaranteed start next year. So they could still use that pick to address, defense, but there's really just, outside of cornerbacks, there's not really like a lot of standout guys that are going to be available at their position in the draft. So I'm hoping that they either make a really aggressive move, they deal Kirk out, and they go out and find someone, or they draft either what's his name, CJ Stroud, or he's not going to be available, but there's like a couple of other quarterbacks who might fit their system.
Levis does what's his face from Kentucky work for the Vikings this year?
Honestly, the problem is, dude, like, no matter who they bring in, they're going to try to create a system for that guy, which I'm very excited about. That's not what the previous regime did. So I'm not really over obsessed on who they draft at. If they draft a quarterback, who they get. I'm more worried about them wasting the primes of TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Those two guys are, TJ's I think 25 and Justin's 24. These guys are, TJ just got off his rookie scale contract. JJ's going to be up he's already eligible for
the largest extension by wide
ever.
receiver ever.
He'll get a massive contract. And he knows that too. He's playing it very smart. He's keeping cool. He's not, chirping or anything like that. He knows he's going to get paid. It's just how much are they going to pay him, and they can't pay him and Kirk at the same time. It's just impossible. So they got some interesting situations brewing. If they could, I would love if they went and drafted a receiver first. There's it would not upset Justin. He would love to have another guy across from him who can take some pressure off of him.
So the Thielen years are probably far
he's
behind us.
He kind of knows that too.
He's been a little bit spurred by them.
Yeah.
He so right after the season ended, his wife got on Instagram. She posted a story. It said something to the effect of, this could be our last year in Minnesota. Didn't say the Vikings particularly, but said last year in Minnesota. Left it up in the air.
Damn.
Adam commented. He's been on the press tour lately. He's been talking about it. He's been saying hey, if the Vikings want to work something out, that's great. But I want to be on a team that wants to play me, value me, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I guess he doesn't feel that way here. Which, dude, you're on the way back end of your career. You've been injured the past couple of years. You just can't keep up with the guys anymore. Either retire dignified as a Viking, or go to the Jets, spend a whole year, and then face another injury maybe. I don't know. I would retire a Viking if I was him. They're going to give him a nice little honor and all that stuff. I wouldn't bother playing another year. He's just not the same guy, and that just happens. It's sad, but their Vikings are either going to cut him, or he's gonna.
You got a short shelf life in the NFL for sure, and wide receivers no different. Especially a guy who basically came out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then was
D2.
a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he's been serviceable.
It's like that
for the past couple of years.
I feel like he's got to take a major pay cut if he wants to stick around.
He does not.
And he probably doesn't want to do that. And, I mean, he can't be a number 2 anymore. You can't have him lined up on opposite sides of Justin Jefferson. At minimum, you can maybe throw him in the slot, especially in the red zone, because I do still think he's a good route runner.
That's what they've been saying. Like, hey, he's great in the red zone. You get him in the short field where he doesn't have to make any kind of, like, he doesn't have to run a long route or create separation. Perfect. Get
Problem
him in
with
the red
him,
zone.
he's not running anything further than 12 yards at this point in his career. So
he just can't. And
His fantasy football days are over.
Yeah, he's not even a PPR. He's not even a PPR guy anymore.
Unfortunately, everyone's been dropping him from that. Which, it makes sense. A couple years ago, he was a
It happens. So
will he and Aaron Rodgers link up in New York?
Dude, him and Aaron Rodgers do love each other. They do love each other, and
Adam Thielen actually was just on ayahuasca with.
Yeah, like wherever Rodgers goes, if he doesn't end up staying in the Packers, I would not doubt that Adam Thielen's
They went to Lake Tahoe together for a weekend.
Yeah, you never know.
I will say Adam Thielen does have one of the best. He's one of the best fantasy football team names.
Oh yeah,
Hooked on a Thielen.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's great.
I do. As a Bears fan, I gotta say I've always appreciated the Adam Thielen kind of arc. And he became as a player. Like the funniest part is he's as a Bears fan, I'm gonna give it through this lens is he's a D2 product. Remind me and correct me if I'm wrong. He was undrafted, right?
Yep.
Just came in as a tryout type situation, linked up, and then had like 1,300 yards 2 years. Multiple Pro Bowls and stuff like that. The Bears literally can't even draft.
That's the best part.
Sign. Anything.
They just can't do nothing. And it's not
as a wide receiver position. Yet the Vikings, who aren't even that known for you Randy Moss and stuff
Stephon
like that.
Diggs.
Okay.
CC.
If there is
Chris
one,
Carter,
actually, you know what? I'm wrong.
They've been very good with.
But
wide
I will
receivers.
say this. I will say this.
He
Though.
listed 2 Hall of
For
Famers.
every Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson that you draft.
Yeah.
Diggs is great because was he 3rd round pick?
Yeah, I mean,
third, fourth round pick.
He was not like at the top anywhere.
For every Diggs that you find in the 4th, 5th round, you have Troy Williamson who gets drafted 7th overall.
Yeah.
The only difference is the Bears only draft Troy Williamsons. We don't find anything else.
Yeah,
that's our problem.
I mean, that's the thing. Like it's not for a lack of trying for the Bears. They've tried so many different guys.
So I'm jealous of a guy like Adam Thielen because I wish that we could find that D2 product, undrafted, comes in and then just turns into a mainstay for a better part of 6 or 7 years. I'm excited about Darnell Mooney, but even this year was a letdown from his rookie year. It's we can't even get something going properly in the right direction. You over here, Adam Thielen.
I did have
Justin
Darnell
Jefferson and Stephon Diggs and.
I did have Darnell Mooney as my second year pop off player. On that list, I was like, okay, yeah, he's a Bear, but I saw the potential. I did see the potential rookie year, and I was like, okay, I think he's gonna have a breakout year. That same year, I also had Jonathan Taylor as the breakout. But I was a little biased because I've seen him play in college, and I'm a Wisconsin fan. But I still think Mooney still can be that guy, though. It's just the clock's running out, though. You got to make some decisions.
Well, that's the thing. The Bears keep going through those coaching changes, and so you can't get things settled, and you don't have the one thing the Vikings have had in the past couple of years for the first time in a long time was quarterback stability. I don't really particularly love the guy, but he's a Pro Bowl level quarterback.
He's better than half the quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
He's a top 16 quarterback.
You can make it work with that kind of. I mean, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, so there's no reason that Kirk could
So did
not.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, there are. Sometimes the not great guys do get there, and sometimes they win it. Matthew Stafford, he just won it. So he's not an elite quarterback, but
I would say at this point in their careers, though, Kirk Cousins is not that far behind.
No, and he's got some.
Stafford's
great
far past his prime.
Yeah.
So the Vikings. It always feels like the Vikings are that team that you really should be seeing contend for an NFC Championship. With the rosters that they have.
No one's ever scared of them. That's the problem. There's no fear.
There's
when
no
Packers
fear.
come into town, it doesn't matter if you're at home, you're away, the Packers are coming into town, it's Aaron Rodgers. Oh, man, we got to go through this. But once the Vikings, man, you saw what the Colts almost blew them out. Obviously, it was the greatest comeback ever. But, they came into town, and they just whipped the Vikings around. It wasn't even fun.
Great first half.
Yeah, it was amazing first half.
I mean, weren't the Vikings 14-3 or 13-4 in the regular season and had a negative point differential?
Yep, it was awful. That's crazy. That's the thing that happens, dude. That's what happens when you play. It's great. It was cool. They won they were 11-0 in one-score games. But when you play that close all the time, it only takes one team to be like, hey, what if we just did this differently? for the Giants, what they did differently was they were like, all right, we're going to go after Patrick Peterson. He can't cover one-on-one. We're just going to target him the entire game.
Is he a third year?
Patrick Peterson?
Yeah.
Patrick
he's
Peterson's been
30,
like the
30.
third decade.
Yeah, dude.
Patrick Peterson's been around for a long time.
And so yeah, there's another guy who's probably gone, which is okay because he can't keep up anymore. It's fine. Like you can find another team, or you can retire without permanent injuries. But yeah, they have some situations to address. There's another guy who Bijan Robinson from Texas. If they can get him somehow, goodbye Dalvin Cook. I love the guy. He was great for a bunch of years, but he's taken a major step back.
So I'm totally cool with the see you later Dalvin Cook argument. He's often injured. He's good to miss at least 2 games a year. He's got a fumbling problem. He's always had a fumbling problem.
Awful fumbling problem.
But like, I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to Alexander Madison.
Oh, he's gone too.
Is he actually going to be gone?
Yeah.
If you had to choose, like, could you sign Madison, keep Madison, sign him, and get rid of Cook?
There's a situation that they could do that. The problem is I don't think Madison wants to do that. I think he does want his own starting role somewhere else because there's no way they're going to give him just all reps. Like they actually, compared to the past regimes, he actually played less this year. It was the Dalvin Cook show, despite Dalvin not being able to perform and like give those same Dalvin Cook performances. They just wouldn't put in Alex Madison out, and he's good. Like he's a powerful runner. He's got a lot of burst in him. He's only a year younger than Dalvin, but he hasn't played as much, so he doesn't have all that wear and tear. I would love if they could do that, but I'm confident that they're going to either draft a guy or they're going to bring someone else. I don't think either of these guys are coming back next year.
You need at least one of them, though.
You don't, because they have Ty Chandler from, where was he? I think he played in North Carolina last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They drafted him last year.
That's what you
he was a North Carolina running back when what's his face was there.
Yeah, and he's pretty good too. Like he was making a good showing in the preseason games, but the problem is he got hurt, and then once you're hurt, dude, that just sets you back so far. Like you're already back on the depth chart. There's no way you're getting reps from Dalvin or Madison at that point. And then they have another guy, their kick returner. He's technically like their third string running back.
He had 2 kick returns.
He did, and he's good, but like he just isn't a great.
Some guys can't handle contact coming through.
He can do the It's just weird. He's just not as good as I think that they thought he was going to be. Like he was not drafted as a running back. I don't think. I think they always had him as like, hey, this guy's really fast and he can return. Let's just make him a good returner and he can sit on the depth chart for a while. But yeah, if they can get someone like Bijan Robinson, I would be.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson.
So happy with that.
Man, he's got the glitter.
I was listening to something earlier today talking about how he's like he reminds a lot of people of Ezekiel Elliott when he first came out. Obviously not the Zeke we know now.
Ohio State Zeke.
When he first came out, like this guy can do it all, not just like running and catching. We're talking about pass blocking too, which is super important for. Hey, it's third down. We don't know that if they're going to run the ball or throw the ball. Like, hey, they don't need to throw it to him.
Especially in this NFL, pass blocking is huge. I mean, every time this year people were, for a Bears analogy, everyone was begging for Khalil Herbert to get more carries. Khalil Herbert literally can't block.
Yeah.
He can't block a cold. So
and once you're out there like that, like it's like an Adrian Peterson situation where like, well, we know they're running the ball. They're not going to throw it, and they're not going to let them pass protect. So we know you're not.
It's too difficult nowadays.
Yeah.
You got to be a little bit more than one dimensional.
What running back was it they ran like a trick play the last play of the game in the playoffs?
Oh,
was it Elliott for the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think it was.
Who got absolutely ran over. He snapped the ball, I think.
Yeah. What an awful idea of a play. Like, I get that that's such a low probability no matter what. You could run just a straight up Hail Mary, 4 verts, whatever. But like, man, to do that was embarrassing. That was not as embarrassing as the amount of times the Vikings got blown out this year. All of their losses were by 11 points or more.
Well, yeah, it's
and
like
all
they
of
either
their
win
wins,
close or they get blown out.
Yeah, all their wins
no
were
in
like
between on
one
that
score.
one.
Yeah, so let's just. I mean, if there was a case for frauds, I mean they did not beat the allegations.
So when you guys were frauds, like, would you say it was the O-line that kind of exposed it? Because I think I remember correctly, was it your star O-line player? He went down in the Dallas game, and then just went downhill for Kirk.
There were a few games where they didn't have their center got hurt towards the end of the year. He actually got in a car accident on the way back from one of the games, and he fucked up his lower back that was already fucked up, so he couldn't play. And then the guy that they had to do a little bit of shuffling around. Another one of their guys who was replacing their star left tackle or right tackle, he got hurt as well. So they were doing some major shuffling, but that wasn't even the problem, dude. It was not. So he all year.
It's always Kirk Cousins.
This guy was
Kirk.
taking. I remember when I came on your show earlier in the season, I was saying something about Kirk never takes any risks on plays. He doesn't make any risky throws. That's why the Vikings can't advance. This year, he totally cleared that. He was making all these risky throws. You saw that 4th and 18 against Buffalo. He just threw that shit up for grabs, and it worked out.
That was a terrible idea.
It was a terrible idea, but on 4th and 19, there's nothing else you can do in that situation.
It's a terrible idea that the wonders and every beauty of having a guy like Justin Jefferson just completely masks.
But then once it's 4th and 8 and it's the playoffs and you're playing the fucking Giants, how do you not throw the same kind of pass?
Yeah,
that's what devastates me.
I lost a lot of money on Justin Jefferson props in that playoff game. It was brutal.
It was so dumb, and that's what I'm saying. Like the Giants, they came in and they made adjustments. They weren't afraid of the Vikings. They knew they were going to go in there.
Yeah.
They knew it could be loud. It didn't matter. Like they knew, all right, if we target this guy and we don't let him throw it to Justin Jefferson, there's a good chance he's going to either clam up, which he does a lot, or he'll just straight up make a mistake. This time he didn't make a mistake. He just clammed up and threw it. He threw a check down. 4th and 8. You just can't do that. You just
how on 4th and 8 with a game on the line do you throw the ball 4 yards?
I just don't get I can get okay. You throw a check down because the guy's
to a
wide
tight
open,
end. To a tight end,
no,
mind you.
Yeah, right. Like maybe if that guy's not as guarded or if the defender's playing like yards off the ball, all right, you give him a chance maybe.
Yeah.
But the guy was all over him.
I know.
You could have just thrown this thing up in the air and hey man, if you don't come down with it, it's 4th and 8 anyway. Like it's not like it's not like it's a tie game or something. Like I don't know.
It was just a high risk, low reward situation for him.
I have a quick yes or no question for you. Just straight up, yes or no. Are you a believer in Kevin O'Connell as your head coach?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe in him.
Who was
he
it?
has
was
made
it Joe Judge or someone called him Harry Styles?
Yes, he was getting those comparisons like right away.
I didn't know until someone actually said it. Like, oh, okay, I kind of understand the comparison now.
He's a cool guy. He's very young and he connects with players, which is cool. But I think, and I hope this changes next year, I think he needs to step away from play calling.
Okay.
Because he makes some weird choices. In this playoff game, there was a 3rd and 1, I think, and they tried running a trick play.
I remember that.
It was like Justin. It was to Justin Jefferson. Then Jefferson throws it back to Kirk, and he goes, "It's a 3rd and 1." Dude.
I remember that.
Like that's not the time to get cute.
That's a Matt Nagy shit. That's a Matt Nagy shit.
But that's the thing. It's like it's first year head coach. He didn't do play calling with the Rams. That was all Sean McVay. So I think he just wanted to assert himself. But you gotta You gotta let your other guys like really console you on that kind of thing. I think if that part was taken from him later or earlier in the year, I think they maybe go with a different strategy on the games. I don't really know, but yeah, there was just too many times where he'd be making very questionable calls on very important downs.
Yeah,
and it's
growth,
and it's 13 wins. You can't be mad at that. But the last time the Vikings won 13 games was 2017. Made it to the NFC Championship game.
We all know
got
that.
blown out. Then they were like, "Hey, all we got to do is patch up this offensive line, get a quarterback. We'll be right there again." It took them, 6-7 years to get back to 13 wins again.
Could you imagine if Kirk Cousins threw the check down to Stephon Diggs and the Minnesota Miracle instead of what he actually did?
That's the great conundrum amongst Vikings fans right now is would he have made that throw?
Yeah, how's the same guy who throws the Minnesota Miracle?
That's where you get a guy like Case Keenum just like, hey, I have nothing to prove to anyone, nothing to lose, nothing to prove to anyone. I'm just gonna throw this shit up there to Diggs. It's our best receiver. It's you put the ball in the right person's hands.
Yep.
That's all he had to do. It was a 4th and 8. You didn't have to win the whole entire game. You just had to get a first down.
How much time was left?
In that game?
Yeah.
It was, I think, under a minute.
Okay.
But they just needed, I believe, they needed to score a touchdown and get the 2 point.
Yeah,
but either way, I mean, you don't throw a check down there.